Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, fantastic.
Nice to see you both.
I'm Bella.
Hey, Seven Bella.
Very good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
So, if you would just like to introduce yourself and explain where you are at the moment, that would be fantastic.
Cool. Yep, my name's Ben Welford. I'm currently backstage at the Capitol Theatre in Sydney, where I'm performing in the Lion King musical.
Lovely. Fantastic.
We just had a couple questions specifically about your time at Scotch.
hmm
Looking back on your time, what are some of the performing arts experiences or opportunities that have stayed with you most strongly and why?
Well, there was a lot of productions that I was lucky enough to do while I was at Scotch, and that was both through the Performing Arts Academy, as it was known at the time, and my drama studies as well as part of the curriculum. And yeah, I was lucky enough to be involved in so many different productions there, and it meant that when I graduated, I already felt like I kind of had a fair bit of experience under my belt, so that when I was auditioning for drama schools, I knew what to expect and what they were looking for, and, you know, had as much experience that a person of my age at the time could have, really, to draw from. Yeah, there was my very first production at Scotch was Robin Hood with Miss Strigolo. And yeah, that was a really cool experience. I remember being quite disheartened not being cast as Robin Hood, but it was an awesome experience. And yeah, and I think a good setup for the industry as well, because we don't always get cast in the roles that we necessarily see ourselves in or want. But things always sort of have a way of working out for a reason, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Was there a particular moment, production, teacher, rehearsal, or experience during your time in drama, music, or the musical that helped shape your confidence, ambitions, or pathway beyond school?
Well, as I said, Mrs. Triglow was part of she was my drama teacher back then. And then I've been lucky enough to come back to Scotch and, as you know, work with both of you and some other year levels on graduating productions and workshops. So it's really nice to still have that connection to Scotch and have the opportunity to come back and share my experience with current students. But yeah, I think as far as productions, I remember there was a production, I think it was a graduating Year 12 play that I was asked to be a small part of, and there was... I remember there being sand all over the stage. And I think that's one of the really cool things about what Scotch offers, is that when Scotch puts on productions, they're actually professional grade productions, and we're getting people that are from the industry to come in and assist with those productions. So yeah, something like that really stands out for me. And I remember we did a production of The Darling Buds of May. I remember doing that with another Scotch graduate, Sarah Snook, who's obviously gone on to be very successful. And we did, as part of that, we went to the Adelaide Fringe Festival as part of sort of, I guess it was marketing for the show. And we were doing it was sort of like a theatre sports competition against some other shows within the Fringe Festival. And I remember being so proud because our student cohort went up against a show that was actually an improvised comedy show in the Fringe. That was their show, while we were putting on a bunch of school kids putting on a play, and we won the theatre sports competition. That was a real standout moment for me, for sure.
Since graduating at Scotch, your career has taken you in exciting and diverse directions. Could you tell us a little bit about your professional journey and some of the highlights along the way?
Well, definitely the biggest highlight for my career is being part of The Lion King, and I've been lucky enough to be a part of The Lion King in some way, shape, or form since 2013. So I first was joined the last Australian tour back in 2013. And my role back then was a little bit different. I was what's called a standby or a walking cover, and I covered four of the principal roles, which was Zazu, Timon, Pumbaa, and Ed.
Yeah,
Um,
wow.
so yeah, part of that is part of my job is basically to be at the theatre, ready to go on as any one of those characters at a moment's notice, if need be, in the middle of the show, or sometimes we get, a few hours notice if somebody's sick or injured. So basically, my job was to always ensure that the show could go on and be of a professional standard that the audience would come to expect from the show. And that was great. I really enjoyed the variety of being in that role. At the moment, I've stepped into the principal role of Zazu, and I'm also covering Scar. So again, I still get a little bit of that variety where occasionally I get to go on as Scar, which has kind of been something that has been a bit of a bucket list item for me. Back in 2013, there was potentially an opportunity for me to cover Scar back then, but it didn't end up happening. And then I did the international tour of The Lion King for about 5 years on and off throughout COVID, where I got to travel around the world and get paid to do what I love, which is pretty exciting. And I covered the role of Scar there, but the guy that played Scar was so consistent that he only took 2 shows off over that entire period.
Yeah,
And
wow.
there was another guy that was the first Scar cover, and so he did those 2 shows. So I never actually got to do it. And just a few weeks ago, for the very first time, I got to perform as Scar right here at the
Awesome.
Capitol Theatre. So that was really, really special to sort of like tick that goal off my bucket list. Yeah, so I've done other theatre as well. Mainly theatre has been where my career has sort of focused. And I've done little bits of film and TV along the way, some television commercials, that kind of thing. But yeah, The Lion King's really been I've been lucky enough for it to be the main part of my career, and it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Every couple of years the phone rings again, and yeah, and I'm lucky to be asked back in another capacity. So yeah.
What does it mean to be in such an iconic production, and what have you learned from working on a show at that scale?
Well, like I said, it's such a huge honor and privilege to be part of such a production, especially at a time where theatre's struggling at the moment. Live performance is struggling. You might have heard recently about the closure of
Couple shows.
Waitress and Beetlejuice. Yeah, which is really sad for our industry. And I'm lucky enough that The Lion King seems to be doing okay at the moment, but there's just no guarantees, and that's unfortunately what this industry is like. Is that you can have all the talent in the world, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. So it's definitely something that you have to be very passionate about, and be willing to weather those times where not everybody goes from job to job. And I certainly haven't been lucky enough to be one of those people that goes from job to job. I have been lucky enough to have a lot of consistent work for chunks of times, but before this I was working a bunch of other jobs. But it's great, because in those times it does give me the opportunity to be able to do things like come back to Scotch and assist in whatever way that I can.
Yeah.
Just to follow on from that question, as you said, the arts can be a challenging and unpredictable industry. What have been some of the most valuable lessons you've learnt since leaving school? And what advice would you give to current students who are considering a future in the creative industry?
I would say that, like I said, you have to be very passionate about it and committed to it. And I think probably if there can be times where, I mean, I almost quit being an actor. I had a period of time, a big chunk of time where I didn't have any acting work earlier in my career. And I think it's probably, the day after you decide that you're going to throw it all in, that your big break will come. And that's almost what happened to me in a way. So I think, yeah, you've got to do it for the love of it, and get as much experience as you can, especially early in your career, saying yes to as much opportunities as possible, to try and get as much experience as you can. You're always going to learn something from doing a production, and also create your own work. That's really the people that have those really successful careers, I think, are the ones that are brave and bold and creative enough to put on their own work, and not be scared of failure, not be scared of making mistakes, because that's where all the lessons lie.
Yeah, definitely. So, Scotch is presenting Hadestown Teen Edition this year at the Theberton Theatre. What excites you about seeing the next generation of Scotch performers tackle a production of this scale and ambition?
Well, like I said, Scotch has always been so great at putting on such professional grade productions, and to be putting it on in a professional theatre as well. I'm just excited to see the level of talent and the level of professionalism from the production. Anytime I've gone to see productions at Scotch, I've always been blown away by the level of talent, and yeah, the level of professionalism. It's like a proper production that anyone would be happy to pay money for a ticket for. So I guess, yeah, I'm just really excited to see some of the students that and I've worked with before, to see a different side of them and see what they're bringing to the table. And yeah, just excited to see the production generally as well. I haven't actually seen Hadestown yet, so yeah.
There you go. Amazing. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ben. We really appreciate it.
No
You
worries.
go have a fantastic dinner break and focus for all the shows coming up.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
See ya.